So if you have text or any other graphics, you can just go in here and edit it, which brings us right to the next one, which is essential sounds. And here, of course, we need to select a sound first. And now you can actually choose the auto tag, or we can tag it manually as dialogue, music, sound effects, or ambience. Here we have a lot of options, which is pretty amazing. So let's say we drag in our music here, boom. And we have it selected. We can auto tag it, or as I said, manually. So let's say we test the program and let's see if it's auto tagging correct. We can now see it is detected as music, which is correct. If it's not correct, we can clear that audio type here. And now we have all kinds of different options. We can choose some presets. We can remix it directly to 60 seconds if we want, without choosing the remix tool here, which can be pretty helpful if we are aiming for a 60-second video. We can also, if we have different audio types in here, like having talking head, like someone speaking, we can detect the speaking part as talking head, and then we can duck it against vocals. So it's going to go down in loudness when someone is talking, which can save a lot of time. So you don't have to keyframe or like manually edit it. The other way would be with command and clicking here on that line. You can actually make keyframes, and then you can bring up or down the value. You can basically just bring up the volume, the decibel right here. So on the bottom here, you can see how it's affecting it and how it's going up and down the audio. Yes, you can pretty much just deal with the loudness here. You can also go up here and change the clip volume, up to you. But if you change it here, like I did with the keyframes, it will automatically create keyframes, which you can preview in that effects control as well. So if you are changing it here in the timeline, you will also see it here as keyframes, which you can move here, and now it's going to change in the timeline as well. That's pretty good to know. So next up is Lumetri Color, which is also pretty important because this can be used to color your videos. You have a different options here, which is first of all the basic. So you can check them and uncheck them. And as soon as you did any changes here, it's directly going to affect the clip, and you can see it here in the effects controls. You can control both. You can either change here the temperature. You see, if I change something here in the effects tab, it's also going to change in the Lumetri Color panel here. So yeah, it's totally up to you where you like to do your edits and where you want to do your Lumetri colors. And yeah, you also have the creative part. You can add here some LUTs, either some preset LUTs, or you can like upload your own LUTs. But in color grading, we are going to talk in a different video. But yeah, just to let you know that you have seen it, you also have the curves here. To edit the curves, you can select different colors. For example, we can just like select it at orange and like completely desaturate it, or like crank up the saturation. These curves are pretty nice. You can use here, change it into different colors, for example, which can be really trippy but also helpful in a lot of moments, because if you have too much colors, for example, in your clip, you just want to take out some colors. And you also have the option to vignette. You see here, if you go into plus, it's going to create a white vignette. If we go into minus, it's going to create a dark vignette. Vignettes are also pretty cool. You can change the feather and everything. So yeah, just that you have seen that. You also have that metadata if you need that. You can also set markers. Here in the main timeline, you can, for example, press M and you create a marker, and in here he is going to show you the markers. So here you can also like tag the markers with different colors, which can be pretty helpful if you have a big edit and you want to jump to markers. You can just open up the markers option here. You can jump to them and like edit the in and out. And yeah, this can be really helpful to keep a big project structured and have a good overview. Yes, you also have the history of the changes you did. Yeah, like you can see here what I've done. So if you want to move back to something, you can just select it. You can activate that change or not, but you have here the option to jump back a couple of steps, so you don't have to press Command C all the time, but you can just like make a lot of changes at the same time. Undone. Yeah, I think that's right. So this can also be pretty helpful, the history. Then you have events. I'm actually not really sure what I'm using that for. Events I pretty much never use. And you have the time code. It speaks for itself. Here's the time code. Same as you see here. We are now at 3 seconds and 21 milliseconds. Just see the same here in the time code. Yes. That's pretty much the windows for now. And the last thing is actually, you can see here on that tab, the loudness of your audio. Yes, it pretty much shouldn't be here clipping at the 0. A sweet spot is always between -6 and -3. So make sure you control here your loudness. All right, now you know a lot in Premiere Pro. So let's move on. And next up, we have that little icon here on the right top, which is full screen. So if you have, of course, you have here your preview. If you click that full screen, you're going to see it full screen, which can be pretty cool to check your footage and check if everything is cool. Just click that full screen button and enjoy this preview. Next up, there is the open progress dashboard. I don't really use that one. Here's the quick export. I do not really use the quick export either. I'll show you in a second how to export your video. And this button here, the workspace button, is similar to the Windows workspace button I showed you here earlier. This is just a quick access where you can jump between your workspaces. Here's the one number 16 we've created earlier. This is just a quicker way to jump between all of your workspaces. Yes, so this one you can probably keep in mind, which is going to be helpful. Here you can see export, and when we click export, we are coming to that actual export window, which is really important because in the export window, we're going to export our final video. But first of all, it's really important that you select the right area. So with if you have a couple of edits here, let's say we have a couple of clips inside, and if you have only this area selected and you jump into the export window, you're only going to export this area. If you have selected you want to export the source in and out, and this is the in and out points I'm talking about. You can also export the entire source or the whole work area or a custom area, which can make sense sometime, but usually I would recommend always select here the source in and out and make sure you have all the clips, like your full video, selected here with your in and out points, and with the up arrow and down arrow you can jump to different cuts to the end and to the beginning of clips, and now you can press O and you have everything selected. So you have the in and out points, pressing I and O, and now this area is the one we want to export. For example, you can jump into the export window, or another shortcut which I'm going to tell you is Command M. This is pretty quick to jump into the export, and in here, as I said, make sure it's sourced in and out if you have set the correct in and out points in your timeline. Nice. So here we have a lot of presets, which of course you can use if they make sense. We're gonna go through render settings in an extra video. It's just for you to see what is actually going on here. You can see a preview first of all to the right, which you can preview your timeline. You see here we have black borders because we have selected a 16:9 preset. So if you want to change that, it's going to be match source adaptive high bitrate. Pretty much just to make it easy, match source is going to match the source sequence settings we have selected for our sequence. You remember we created that sequence with the exact frame size and frame rate that we have for our clip. So exporting in the source settings is perfect. So we are going to see here the size and the frames for our video, and of course the audio and all the output settings in general, and an estimated file size. Yes. So we can of course dig deeper here into the settings, but for now it's all you need to know is that here is where the export happens. So if you're happy with the settings, you can just click on export or send it to the Media Encoder, which is another program from Adobe, which actually makes it possible to align different exports in that extra program. And it's going to save all the data to that program, to Media Encoder. That has some benefits to export in the Media Encoder, but that's also for another day for that export video. Cool. So you know now where you can export your videos. Go here into edit again, and of course to the left there's import. That's where we started everything. So here you can super easy switch between these tabs if you get confused. And also of course here's the home button, which brings us to the very first view when we open up Premiere Pro. And in here we could start a new project and or open a project. So you know these icons now as well. And now it's getting in detail because we're talking now about these top bar we have here. Let's start Adobe Premiere Pro. You can first of all see the current version you have. Make sure this is always up to date. You can see the settings here, which is really important. Let's open up the settings and let's start with general. And here you have all different kind of settings of your Premiere Pro. This is really important to go through and to understand some of the settings. Here you have your general settings and preferences, which you can of course customize over time. But yeah, here you don't really have to change anything. It's just really important that you know that you have the option to change here things to your likes. You also have the appearance here. You can change, for example, the brightness if you want it lighter. If you, for example, edit outside at a nice beach, or darker if you want to edit anywhere inside. You can also change everything to that bottom. You have here the preview. You want to make them pop more, the highlights, or you have the focus indicator here. You can change your buttons to your likes as well. You have the audio. I don't really change anything here. For the audio hardware, this can be really important. If you have an input, in my case, a microphone, if you want to record directly into Premiere Pro, this is possible. You can select your input here. And what's really important is the output. So if you use a MacBook speaker, if you use headphones, you of course have to connect them with Bluetooth or plug them in. And then you also have to choose here your default output to your likes. Here we have the autosave option, which I was talking about earlier. Make sure this is checked. So it's automatically saving every 5 minutes in my case, and it's maximum saving 20 versions. If you have an ultra long project and it goes on forever and you've been editing this project for, I don't know, weeks, months or years, make sure to crank this number up because you're gonna reach that 20 pretty fast. So if you save every 5 minutes, yeah. And you can also, here choose your folder where it's changed the savers in the background for autosaves if you have a team project, but you're not going to create a team project now. So this is not too important right now. Here is another collaboration option for team projects. You have the color display here. I'm not changing anything here. Control surface, not changing anything. Graphics, yeah, I'm definitely sticking with that. You can here change the different default emoji fonts. This can be helpful. You can name your different colors. You can label clips. Let's move on with the preferences and the settings up here. I think we stopped at the labels because we're talking about labeling. Here you can pick different colors. You can even go really deep into the color picker and decide which color you want, and then of course name them. You have the media here, which I'm going to leave like that as well. You have a media cache, which is really important to know. Sometimes if you have a lot of edits done in Premiere Pro, make sure you delete that media cache. So it's deleting the unused files in the media cache, which is sometimes a lot. I think I haven't deleted mine in a while. So I think it just probably saved me like 80 gigabyte on my computer. So this can be really helpful to know. On the memory, I'm now like telling Premiere Pro how much RAM should be reserved for other applications. So I set mine to 6 gigabytes. It works good for me. If you set it too low, like 3, I found out that Premiere Pro starts lagging because you need RAM for all the stuff going on in the background. So 6 is, I don't know, a sweet spot for me. You have that playback here. Leave that option as it is. Sorry, I keep closing it. So now we have the sync settings, also leaving as it is. Here you have the preferences for your timeline, and I want you to change one thing because you probably have it on page scroll, the timeline playback, and which is this here. So your playback probably looks like that, and now it's jumping. It's always doing like these pages, like jumping the pages. And there's one way smoother way. So just go in here, make sure you go to timeline and choose not page scroll, smooth scroll. It's gonna make such a big difference. Look at that. Now, when we are zoomed in, as soon as the slider hits the middle, it always sticks to the slider. So this is so helpful. Believe me, change the settings. It's key. Nice. Let's move on. So we have trim and transcription here. We don't need to change anything here for now. That's totally fine. Next one is keyboard shortcuts. This one is really important because in here you can see all the effects and all the shortcuts for your keyboard. And I would really recommend to import the keyboard shortcuts I did upload for you. I'm going to show you in a second because it's so important to know your shortcuts. Here you can see everything. This is the control. You can customize it here with the menu. You can search for different actions and just drag them onto your keyboard to the right keys you want. And this is saving so much time. So make sure you import the settings I give you and you have that list, print that list and study keyboard shortcuts. I know at the beginning it's super boring and it's not the most exciting thing. It feels like learning and like remembering, but believe me, if you want to become a really good and fast editor and enjoy the process, you have to learn the keyboard shortcuts. That's how it is. That's how you become a really good editor. Up to the right, you can set, of course, your keyboard layout language. And this is not going to affect the language of Premiere Pro in general. If you want to know how to change the language, let me know and I will create a video. But here it's just for your keyboards. Here we can actually make changes and save the changes as a preset. So if we change the computer, if we update to another version, we can upload again our presets. So we have to learn our presets once and we can always use them on all the machines and in all Premiere Pro versions. So I created a preset which I think is perfect, which works awesome for me. And I'm going to show you how to import it into Premiere Pro. So first of all, it's important to download this keyboard file. So this one we are going to copy with Command C. And now we go into Documents, Adobe, Premiere Pro, and choose the current Premiere Pro version you are working in. And then go to Profile, whatever your name is here. And then to Mac, or if you're on Windows, go to Windows. In here, we are just pressing Command V. And we are pretty much dropping that file in here. So, it didn't work. So let's drop it in here. Boom. And now if we open it up again, we should be able to see Keanu Visuals file. So now we can select it and everything has changed. Now you have my keyboard shortcuts and you can work with the list I gave you. And yes, this makes a big difference. Now you can do stuff like I showed you before with Command L. You can link stuff. You can do Command K for cutting. So make sure you have a look at that list. Also, you can have a look here up at the keyboard shortcut settings to know what the different buttons do, because this is going to save you so much time. If you guys interested in a full video just explaining the keyboard shortcuts, let me know and I'm going to create one. All right, with that being said, let's move on to the next one. Here we don't need to worry about anything else. Here under file, we can create new files like a project, sequence, a Photoshop file, and pretty much we have similar settings to here, like the new item one. In here, we can also open projects, save our project, but I would always use just a shortcut. If you want to save the project as something else or as a different name or different location, just have to press Command Shift S and boom, that's a shortcut to save it somewhere else. Also Command M, as I said, is going to bring you to the export window. Yeah, so these are really important shortcuts. And yeah, here you can of course import footage. You can also export, but yeah, the shortcuts are just way faster. And also in here, you have the project manager. Right now, you don't really have to worry about that. You can just leave it like that for now. And here in edit, we can do all different kind of stuff like duplicating stuff. I would always go for the shortcuts, guys. Of course, you can use here the colors too. So I have set some colors on some shortcuts. So you can also set, for example, the color red. If you use a lot of red onto a shortcut, so you just press that button and the clip is labeled within a second. So it's important to know here you can convert this project to a team project. So if you have an existing project and you want to start working with different editors on that project, here is the way to go. Next is clip. You have different options here, but yeah, just go through it. You can also change the speed and duration here, but it's pretty much quite similar or like almost the same. If you just do a right click on that clip, you're gonna see the same options. I forgot the speed and duration, of course. If you do a right click, you also have that shortcut. Make sure to check that out, but you can change the speed now here to about 90, for example. Another way to change the speed is here. You can change that line is now responsible for the opacity. So if I right click, you see opacity here is checked. I can also check position scale, different motion parameters to be affected by that line here. and create keyframes. Or another thing is time remapping speed. I'm going to show you this in another video as well, but basically you can create a keyframes here with holding command, clicking on that line, and if you drag up that line, it's going to increase the speed. So now it's faster, and now it's going back to a little bit slower. So basically if you go down the line, you see we're now at 66% of speed, and if we go up we can like increase the speed. Yes, so that's how you can pretty much create cool speed ramps. But for now it's just good to you to remember where to find everything. We are going really in deep to create these effects, and you will learn it by doing. But this video is to show you all the different things you can do and different buttons. So yeah, that's another option. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much the same like the right click. Going up here to clip, you have sequence. Of course, this is really important to go here in the sequence settings and like maybe change something. If we, I don't know, apparently want to change to 16:9 video, we can just go in here and bring in our new aspect ratio and frame size, press OK. And yes, we are changing the whole container, the sequence size to the one we are just selected. And then of course we have to reframe. And yes, this is really important to go up here and have that option to change different sequence settings. We can render it, pre-render it. So sometimes if the project gets really complex, you need to pre-render it to see what you have actually done. Yeah, you have some more different options here, but I don't really use them. In here, we have the marker settings, and you see all the different shortcuts here as well. So as I showed you, for the in point markers, you just have to press I and O for the out point, and then you have your markers, your selections. So yeah, use the keyboard shortcuts here. It's going to make your process 100 times faster. And then you have graphic and titles. Of course, you could create new layers here. Yeah, but I don't really use that options up here. You can have different options here in view for the playback resolution as well. But guys, going just in here and changing it is way faster. And of course, you have window. You have seen window before, so we have the options here to change the workspaces, same as here. You know that option, but you can also check and uncheck windows. So for example, when you have a tutorial and you're like, man, this guy has his effect panels and everything open, I can't find my effects panel. Look here, it's just disappeared. So just go up to window, and in here, make sure the effects panel, which is here, is checked. And if it's not checked, make sure you check it, and you're going to see it again. So don't worry if anything disappears like that. I don't know, you have closed that panel for some reason and you can see it. Just go up to window, make sure it is checked here. And if it's not checked, you can just go in here and check it again, and you are going to see it. I know guys, this program can be a lot, but don't worry, you get used to it. Just give it a couple of times, a couple of projects, and in 1 to 2 weeks, in a month, you're gonna look back and you're like, that's for sure, that's my home now. I'm now living in this program, editing every day, and you get used to it. But get started, really. Jump in that process and don't be feared to do anything wrong, or to like, you cannot mess up anything here. Even if you like completely go crazy, you just have to find that right button just to reset that layout, and you're good to go. So don't worry, you cannot destroy anything. Feel free, try the program, go in and start creating. This is the most important thing. Hopefully with this video, yeah, you have now a good overview where you can find all the different effects, windows, options that you need to get started, or to come back if you if you're not sure at some point in your editing process. Just come back to this tutorial and check out again where you can find the right button, the right window. So with that being said, I hope you're ready to get your editing journey started. You're ready now to explore Premiere Pro and become one of the best editors in the world. Believe me, you have the potential if you put in the time, if you put in the passion. Start now creating. And I'm super excited to see you in the next tutorial.